And in the last half hour of the program, I was talking to Michael Kiviuq about naming the moons of Saturn. And Kiviuq is one of the names that came up. Now, coincidentally, Kiviuq himself is coming back to the Winnipeg Art Gallery. It's been more than 35 years since his legend was first discovered and told by the Manitoba Puppet Theatre. The puppet show that resulted received rave reviews here and later toured throughout Canada and around the world. The Legend of Kiviuq runs in public performances at the WAG starting on February the 6th. Now, Randy Woods helped to research and create The Legend of Kiviuq all those years ago, and he's back with Kiviuq himself, the puppet. Randy Woods, hi. Great to see you.
Hi, Terry.
We're not talking to you as you are Peter Paul Van Camp. We're just talking to you as Randy Woods.
Let's see how that goes.
Now, so what's the story that this legend tells, the Legend of Kiviuq?
Well, it's as Michael was implying, it's a tremendously old story. He was saying that Kiviuq is the original human. We don't incorporate that part of it in the show. We just pick him up as we find him. He's lost in a storm in his kayak, and he's carried away to a strange land populated only by birds. And in this place, he meets a goose with whom he forms an attachment, and they have a couple of gosling human children. And the wife and children leave because they don't care for caribou meat, which Kiviuq is prepared to provide for them. And the rest of the show is his quest to catch up with him as they have flown south. And he encounters a giant who is the creator of fish. And he meets up with a bee woman who she says she wants to marry him, but she really wants to skin him and eat him. And he gets away from her and ultimately meets up with his goose family again.
Where did you find this story?
Well, we were up in, this was in 1980. I was a young man at the time. The Puppet Theatre went up to 4 Central Arctic communities: Eskimo Point, Rankin Inlet, Chesterfield Inlet, and Baker Lake. And we were working in the schools with doing our puppet making program with the school kids, and they were producing their own plays with our help. And in the evenings, we were invited into the homes of some of the older storytellers in the community. And we held a microphone in front of them, in their very closely heated homes. And this was at the end of a very long day of working. So it was hard to stay awake, as I recall, because we were tired. They were speaking in Inuktitut only, and it was getting on into the evening. So these men were telling us stories. We thought about their own personal experiences in their lives, and part of these, it turns out that a lot of what they were saying was their own story. But from time to time, this word Kiviuq would be repeated. And it was, to us, it was just a word. It might have meant anything. But we had a tape recorder going, so we took this stack of tapes back to Winnipeg at the end of, I believe, 5 weeks. And we brought a gentleman down from Baker Lake named Silas Arnoknok, and he translated everything for us, and we wrote it all out. And in the course of doing this, we found out that we had been hearing these Kiviuq legends, these ancient legends, and decided that that's what we would make our next play about.
But you had hundreds of pages of transcription,
yes.
Right? And so then, the Kiviuq story was embedded in some of these.
It would just come up. It would surface from time to time,
Okay.
and then often an episode would end with the person saying, "And after that, I don't know what happened because I always fell asleep." Because these were the bedtime stories that were told.
So then, when was it first shown in Manitoba? When was the Legend of Kiviuq first mounted?
So we had to build the show. Having researched it, we had to figure out how to make the puppets.
Kiviuq has his head on the table here in front of us. He's about 2 feet high.
Yeah. We had to decide, on the the style of the show, and we also work in mask in this show. Like Kiviuq will blow up to life size or my life size, and we play some of the shows in some of the scenes in mask as well.
Wow!
And so it took us about a year and a bit.
How many puppets did you have to build?
There are, including masks, I think there are 40.
40
pieces, yes.
Really? And I was looking at, there's a wonderful video that we've posted online that the WAG sent to us of him in a kayak.
Yes.
And the sea is what, like polar bears?
It's polar bear skin, yes.
Wow. And now the show took off here, was really successful, and then you got invited to various places in the world, right?
Well, yes. After, in Manitoba, you do a run of the schools, so in town and out of town, and then somehow the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. was putting on an exhibit of Inuit art, and they got wind of it, and they invited us down in the summer of '82, and subsequently we toured the show back into the communities where the stories had come from, which was the best thing. We did our best shows up there because the story, we didn't have to explain anything. We had an Inuktitut narrator as well.
Oh, sweet.
Because the show is narrated.
Right. Because you don't speak as a puppeteer,
no, we don't.
right? Yeah.
So we can do it in French, we can do it in English, we can do
Depending
it
on the narrator.
Yeah. And so there we were with local people narrating the story, and the people knew the story, and it was something that they had never expected to see, a play. Wow. With these stories.
And it went to what? To London and Paris?
There was a puppetry festival in London, and out of that, we were over there anyway, so we got invited to play at the Canadian consulate or something in Paris.
This is a pretty magical opportunity that this play should come back, and it should be mounted now with the original members of the Manitoba Puppet Theatre, right?
Well, the original cast, yes.
Yeah.
And John Bluthner is narrating for us.
How does it feel to be back inhabiting Kiviuq's world?
Well, ibuprofen helps.
Well, because you're older now.
I am older now.
Not as nimble as you used to be.
Gosh, the moves, the moves that I thought were so clever, they're hard to replicate at my age, but we've had a month of rehearsal, so we're ready. We're ready to go.
How does who does the show appeal to? This is for everybody in a certain way, right?
Well, you can say everybody, but I would caution people not to bring 3, 4-year-olds. It's not a scary show, but it's startling in some of its aspects. It's another culture, and it's some of the puppets are rather graphic in their style. Graphic can mean a lot of things, but they have a surprising entrance sometimes, and a small child might be a little put off.
I can hardly wait to see it. Because I wasn't around back in the early 80s, not here, and and having seen some of it now, and having met little Kiviuq this morning. Randy, thanks. This is a wonderful thing.
Well, we're looking forward to opening this thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And that is Randy Woods. He's one of the puppeteers who first mounted the legend of Kiviuq back, I think it was 1980. Was it right? Was 1980? Yeah. And he'll be back next week and the week following for performances at the WAG. We have some tickets to give away to the Friday performance, February the 6th.